We're getting into part two of our underwater scene where we're going to try and make some kind of something kind of creature, animal, anything really, making it look like it's coming out from underwater when it really shouldn't be in the middle of the ocean, right? And so in my first example, I put together a giraffe and some palm trees and a little island, which I was still kind of working on. But in this tutorial here, I think I'm going to switch gears. I'm going to do, I've got an image search going in my browser already for a tortoise. I'm going to kind of take this giant tortoise, take this image, I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to make it appear like this giant tortoise is underwater, which the place you wouldn't normally find tortoises are in the ocean, but you might here. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and create a new document. Remember, anytime you copy an image, Photoshop would recognize that and then create a document. When you create a new document, it's going to create it at dimensions of whatever you just copied. So no need to set the size or anything like that. And what we're going to use is the quick selection tool. That's what's going to help us get just a selection of this guy here, the tortoise, rather than the whole background too. So because the first thing we need to do is get him out of that background. So what I'm using here is called the quick selection brush, and what I'm doing is just kind of going slowly around this guy, and it helps that he has an all white background. Going to make this a lot easier, and I'm just using the quick selection brush to select all of this tortoise here, and I may need to go back and adjust some of the corners here. Like I can see right there I got a little bit extra. I'll show you how to adjust your selections later on as well once we get the bulk of this kind of selected here. Okay, going along this edge of the shell. Alright, now if I go along and inspect my edge, it looks like I'm pretty good everywhere except for these couple little places around this foot up front. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in, and I'm going to take my selection brush tool again. I'm going to make it much smaller. Okay, and what I'm going to do is also I'm going to go to subtract from. So see, there's a minus sign next to this one. So I want to subtract this little corner from my selection because that is not really part of the tortoise. And also in this corner, I'm going to make my brush even smaller, and I'm going to go into this section right here and kind of take away some of that. Now the other thing you can do is you can go to add to, and sometimes you just click once with your selection brush to get just a couple pixels at a time of an image, and sometimes that works better than clicking and holding your mouse. Alright, so now the edge looks pretty good. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy, hit Command and C, or go to Edit and Copy, go back to our project file here, and we'll go File Paste, or Edit Paste rather, or Command V. Alright, so we can see he is in there, but he is way too large. We do want him to be large, but not quite that large. Alright, so moving him over and into the scene here, I guess it's fine that he's coming from this direction. That works okay for me. And I think that this seems to work pretty good right about there. Okay, so right now he is on that top layer. What we're going to do is once you have him in there, you got him the right size, whatever it may be, we want to duplicate this layer. So what I'm doing is just right clicking on this layer and then oops, not getting that. Oh yeah, there it is. Duplicate layer is right here near the top, and saying OK. And now we have two layer images. All right. This one on the bottom, we are going to want to copy our same layer mask from the clouds to make this appear like it's underwater, right? So what we're going to do is hit the Alt key and then kind of click and drag that up to this layer right here. You can't see the effect right now because this layer is on the top, right? So now what we have is we have just this little bit going right up to the water. What we could do also is that we need to change this layer's layer style. Okay, so this one, not the top layer. We need to change this one, I believe, to soft light as well. Okay, now when I change that to soft light, now that looks like it's underwater. Okay, now what I need to do is I need to turn back on this first image, and now on this top layer we're going to create one last mask. So I created a mask by clicking on this icon here, the square with the circle in the middle, and what I'm going to do is draw a square with my rectangular selection tool. I'm going to start in the upper corner, go all the way across, and I'm going to make this come to maybe just below his chin there. Okay, I want there to be a little bit of space here between the edge of where his head is coming out and the edge of the water. Okay, it's going to just make it appear more realistic. You'll see what I mean in a second. And so what I want to do is actually, I think I did this slightly backwards too, but here, let me see. It's always funny when you're doing gradients or layer masks, you have to think backwards. Right, so I did that part a little backwards. So I'm going to back up, I'm going to unselect here, I'm going to draw a layer mask that starts at the bottom corner here and goes right up to the edge of the chin of this guy here, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill in this section of the layer mask. Okay, and so that part is where I'm revealing what's underneath. Okay, so now if I deselect, you'll see how this starts to appear like, see, there's this water in between, and he's underneath the water here, and he's over the water here. Right. So a couple last things before we can call it, and I'll let you guys just go ahead and work on your own. We need to make these edges a little rougher, right? They look too perfectly straight across. If he was really in the water like this, it wouldn't really be looking like that. So what we need to do is adjust our masks just slightly. And so we are going to use our paintbrush, okay, to actually add to this mask. And so we're going to need to have black as our color. If you click on this quick link right here, the black and white mini boxes, that'll give you black automatically as your brush color. And we want to click on this, actually, this thumbnail here, the layer mask area. And what we're going to do is just kind of slightly brush some of this line to make it a little more jagged. Now we might want to zoom in a little bit here, and we might want to choose a bigger brush. That might be a little bit too big. That might be a little bit better. This should work pretty good. Alright, and what I'm going to also do is just zoom in here a little bit, go back to my brush tool. Alright, and like I said, we're just kind of brushing along this edge just to fuzz it up a little bit and get a little more of a realistic effect so that this guy looks like he's actually under the water here. Nice. Go along this chin area here. That might help a little bit. Alright. Cool. So that looks pretty good now. That's pretty believable that he's coming out of the water there. We're also going to do the same thing with this other edge. Now where we need to go for that is we actually need to go to the gradient mask here, the one that's over our big radial gradient, and we're actually going to use our eraser on this one. Okay, so we're going to take our eraser tool. We want to choose a brush that's got a fuzzed edge, basically same one as we used just a second ago will work, and we're going to use that right along this edge here. So you can see that I'm kind of fuzzing that a little bit here by erasing, and we want to make sure we're on the mask here of this layer. So just kind of going through and doing a slight bit of erasing there so that line is not so perfectly across. Now let me see here, maybe I wanted to do it on this layer as well. No. Something about that seems too flat across, but I think that actually looks pretty good. Okay, and so there we go. That pretty much does it. The other thing I added in was I did a yeah, palm tree on the other side. So you know what? I could add that in really quick. I think I already queued up a search for palm tree graphic. And when we're in here, I searched palm tree. It's really good to look for graphics that are PNG graphics. That means that this is a graphic that has a transparent background. You can tell by seeing the checkerboard behind it. So if I copy this image from here and then I go into Photoshop and I go edit paste this image in, you can see it already doesn't have a background in it. I'm going to pull this layer up all the way to the top here, and I need to adjust the size of it. So I'm just going to kind of, whoa, went way down there, and kind of hold shift, pull on the corners of these layers, and now I'm going to add the same layer masks and styles to this in order to make it appear like it's coming out from underwater here. Maybe just let it go off the side of the page there a little bit. That's okay. Alright, and so like I was saying, we're going to actually start the same process. I'm going to duplicate this layer. Oops, I think I need to right click over here and go to duplicate layer so that we have two palm trees, one over the other. And then I can literally take these layer styles, this layer mask right here, I'm going to hold Option, click, and drag it onto my bottom layer here. And then this one I'm going to take and hold Option and click and drag it to my top one here. And you can see how it's added the same kind of layer effect there. And so with this one, the bottom one, we need to make sure we change the layer style still to go to soft light, so that'll appear like it's really underwater there. And there we go. That pretty much does it for this underwater sea tutorial. You know, the last thing you could probably do is we could do take our paintbrush and we could fuzz the edge of this just a little bit so that looks like it's coming through the water. But there we go. There you have it. I hope you have lots of luck and success with this this tutorial and this lesson for our computer art class.